You are in charge of the #1 campaign promise of President Donald Trump, which is mass deportations. Are you satisfied with how is it going?
Well, they're doing good. I'm happy with the numbers. I'm not satisfied because I know there's many more out there, and sanctuary cities are slowing us down a little bit. You know, rather than arresting the bad guy in a jail, we got to send the whole team to the neighborhood and look for somebody that want to be found. There's a lot of organizations out there teaching them how to evade ICE. So, you know, we got to increase the arrests. The president is committed to prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats.
Yet half of the people that are in ICE detention, almost half, 46%, do not have a criminal record.
And where do they come from? They come from sanctuary cities, the vast majority. And why is that? Because if we can't arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail because we're a sanctuary city, they'd much rather release him back in the community. We have to go to the community and find him. And when we find that bad guy, many times he's with others. Others are in the country illegally, may not be a criminal target, but ICE officers are not going to walk away from illegal alien they find during the commencement of these operations. So if people want less, what we call collateral arrest to happen, then let us in the jail.
So can you clarify what are the priorities right now?
Public safety threats, national security threats.
And people with final deportation orders as well?
If we find it, and that's going to be the second tranche right now. The priority is about who you put first, right? Public safety threats, national security threats. Just because we prioritize those people doesn't mean everybody else is off the table.
There's a lot of fear in the Hispanic community, not only of undocumented immigrants. There's fear, Mr. Homan, between people that are legal permanent residents and also citizens. What would you tell them? Can you talk to the camera?
If you're in the United States illegally, you got a problem. You're not supposed to be here. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. Entering the country illegally is a crime. If you're a resident alien, you have certain requirements. Just don't violate the law.
Well, the community feels persecuted. How do you prevent racial profiling?
How does the community feel persecuted? I think the immigrant community...
We talk to them every day. That's what they tell us.
And I think the immigrant community fears TDA and MS-13 as much as anybody.
They do.
The immigrant community don't want pedophiles in their neighborhoods either. So President Trump's committed. We're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. They should be happy that this administration is focusing on public safety threats and national security threats. That's our priority.
Mr. Homan, you said that you were not happy with the numbers. Is there a quota?
No quota. I mean, I don't have a quota. I know people are pushing around 1 million removals. My goal is to arrest every public safety threat and national security threat and remove them from this country.
Has there been mistakes?
No. Well, look, has there been errors?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with every arrest. Border Patrol and ICE makes thousands of arrests every day. So I can't sit here and say there's been no mistakes. I think things that I'm aware of, I think we're doing things right. We're keeping to the priorities. Like I said, the data shows, you know, the people who are arrested, majority are criminals. You're facing criminal charges.
But there is, for example, in Florida, there was an American citizen, and also in Arizona, that were detained and held, in the case of Arizona, for several days.
Well, look,
so there has been mistakes. How are you making sure that the people that are being arrested are not American
I'm not
citizens?
familiar with every single arrest, right? I'm at the White House. My job is to create strategies and policies to push down to the CBP, the Department of Homeland Security, and to ICE, how to strategize to secure the border, how to strategize to arrest illegal aliens in the country based on a prioritization. I'm not familiar with every single case. I'm not familiar with most specific cases unless they rise to national media exposure.
Well, let's talk about a case that has risen to national media exposure, and that's the case of Rodrigo Garcia, who, by the administration's own admission, they made a mistake.
I think that's a term that I don't agree with. Was there an oversight? That there was a withholding order saying he couldn't be moved from El Salvador?
Yes.
So was there an oversight that they didn't know that? Maybe, probably. But here's the problem. That withholding order was issued at a time period, and the facts surrounding that case were one thing, right? But since then, the facts surrounding that have completely changed. So the withholding order is about not returning to El Salvador because of fear of gangs.
Persecution.
That gang doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador.
But they are in the Secot where he isn't, or he wasn't.
But then that's up to El Salvador where to place him. He's a citizen and national of El Salvador. They'll make the determination to place him. However, it's an illegal alien, enter the country illegally, involved with trafficking, Remember,
he wasn't criminally charged in the U.S.
Doesn't matter. A lot of MS-13 TDA members don't have criminal histories. 2 federal judges found him to be an MS-13 member. The country of El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member.
Yet the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return. Is the Trump administration complying with that order?
I'm not in loop on that. I'm not in loop on that. The DOJ is litigating that case, so I don't know what steps are being taken. But I stand by the fact I think we removed the gang member terrorist public safety threat. Man with a deportation order was removed.
Let's talk about the case of the Venezuelan men who were transferred on March 15 to Secot. Did you get the directive to turn around those planes, or were those conversations happening at a higher level? Did you get that directive?
I wasn't involved with that operation that weekend. I was aware of the operation. I'm also aware that there's 2 plane loads of designated terrorists that were being removed from this country. It's my understanding they were over international waters. And, you know, again, they're in the custody of the El Salvadorians. And, but I stand by the fact, and I was assured by the highest levels at ICE that everybody in that plane was a designated terrorist, either a member of MS-13 or a member of TDA.
A federal judge recently said that Nazis were afforded a more due process under the Alien Enemies Act than the Venezuelans.
That's a disgusting comment by any judge to make. You want to compare what we did to racial cleansing, to the Holocaust, for God's sakes? Where they murdered hundreds of thousands of Jews? To even compare, that's insulting.
Due process to be able to present their case in court.
Alien Enemies Act. Look, the Alien Enemies Act is different than a Title VIII proceeding. There's a reason Congress created the Alien Enemies Act. This isn't a law that we made up. Congress created the act. They passed the act. It was signed by a president. Alien Enemies Act has less of a due process, and that's the way Congress meant it to be.
You said that those planes were full of terrorists, of members of Tren de Aragua, all of them.
MS-13 or Tren de Aragua is my understanding, yes.
How do you determine that somebody is Tren de Aragua? That they were Tren de Aragua?
There's numerous ways, and the media says, oh, it's based on a tattoo. No, it's not. Tattoo is one factor that's added into a group of factors. It can be social media. It can be immigration history. It can be criminal history. It can be social media. It can be confidential informants information. It could be wiretaps.
But various investigations have shown that most of the Venezuelan migrants that were sent to Secot did not have any criminal record. I've covered many cases.
Criminal history has nothing to do with gang membership. I've been doing this since 1984.
But they have no criminal record. Some of them didn't even come into the United States.
I believe the men and women of Immigration and Customs Enforcement did due diligence along with the FBI and the State Department, looking at various factors, looking at various methods of information, looking at historical data, looking at, like I said, all the other things I mentioned. They did the due diligence.
So if you're so confident in the intelligence, then why not allow them due process and let them present it in court?
Alien Enemies Act has a different level of review than a Title VIII. It's the way the law said.
I
didn't create the law.
But they don't have due process?
There's a level of due process that's different from Title VIII.
What would you tell the families? When are they going to come out? Are they going to have a trial?
They were members of a terrorist organization. They were deported from the United States. That's the right thing to do.
Isn't it more humane and cost-effective to deport them to Venezuela?
If Venezuela wants to take them.
Venezuela wants to take them.
That's 1 week they do, 1 week they don't. So our job is to move to the United States. And Venezuela has shut down planes before. They spent months and months saying we're not taking people back. President Trump's serious. We're going to move public safety terrorists, designated terrorists in this country. If their country won't take them, we'll send them someplace else. They're not staying
Panama,
here.
Costa Rica.
They're not staying here.
Are you doing any planes right now transferring migrants to Costa Rica and Panama?
I got no comment on that.
Right now the planes are halted, right? The deportation flights of Venezuelans are halted, correct?
There's a stay order on
yes.
removing TDAs through the Alien Enemies Act, and we'll simply remove them through Title VIII. We'll make sure they get their due process from an immigration judge, and once they're ordered removed, we'll take action. But right now, the Alien Enemies Act is in hold.
Human Rights Watch recently categorized these detentions as forced disappearances and arbitrary.
It's ridiculous.
Why?
Because the manifests are there. People know who.
But nobody knows If it wasn't for that leaked document to CBS, we wouldn't know who's there. Are you providing the names of the people that have been transferred to
Again,
Secot?
that's being litigated through DOJ.
The migrants that are there at Secot currently, under what legal basis are they being held there since they didn't commit any crimes in El Salvador?
They were deported from the United States by the rule of law of the United States. Now in the position of El Salvador.
Are they going to be there indefinitely, or
I don't know.
you're not involved in those conversations?
No, ma'am.
If a court gives an order and the president says otherwise, do you follow the court order or what the president says?
We will follow the law. If President Trump has made it clear, if Supreme Court and courts make a decision, we'll follow it. But if we don't agree with the decision, we'll litigate it until a final decision is made. We're not going to roll over to radical judges who are making ridiculous decisions.
You've been in law enforcement for 40 years, and due process is a keystone of the legal system here in the United States. Does it worry you that maybe we're eroding the credibility of the United States as a beacon of human rights?
No. We
You're not
follow the
concerned?
laws. Unlike the MS-13 members and the TDA members, we follow the law.
Mr. Homan, we've seen a militarization of the border, razor wire, more active troops. 110,000 acres were given to the military. Is that necessary right now?
Yes.
Although border crossings have plummeted 95%?
And a lot of that has to do with DOD involvement. We are securing our border. We have the right to secure our border. We're a sovereign nation. And here's the good part of that you need to cover, and you probably won't. When illegal crossings down 96%, how many migrants aren't being raped by the cartels? How many migrants aren't dying crossing that border? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting in the country to kill Americans? How many no-inspected terrorists aren't getting in the country? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked when 96% less people are coming? Secure border saves lives. You
have this mass task in front of you. Are you worried about having enough resources to implement it?
Always worry about resources. That's why Congress needs to give us the money we need to do. Like I said, we're doing great. Mm-hmm. Most secure border right now in the history of this nation. But with more money, we can do more.
Are you worried about overcrowding in ICE detention centers? For what I understand, there's currently 48,000 migrants housed in ICE detention centers, although the capacity is 41,000.
That's why we need money from Congress to contract more facilities.
And how are you addressing the overcrowding?
We're asking Congress for more money to build more facilities.
What about Guantanamo? Are you using Guantanamo right now?
Yes.
How many people are housed there?
I don't have the number available right now. I think it's maybe 60 or right around 60. Could be a little bit less, but no, the capacity is soon going to be 30,000.
Mr. Homan, you're a family man. You were a key player in rolling out the zero tolerance policy under the first Trump administration.
Oh, here we go. You want to concentrate? You want to look? This is what irritates me.
Do you have any regrets?
No. Look, we enforce the law. American citizen families get separated every day by law enforcement. I was a cop. I separated families when I arrested fathers of domestic violence. Zero tolerance is about saving lives, right? Women are being raped, children are dying every day on the border. So we said, let's start prosecuting people who bring their children across illegally, and maybe they stop coming. But you know what the side of the story they never talk about? Illegal crossing families dipped like 30% within 2 weeks, saving lives. Are you concerned about 300,000 missing children?
But I saw you saying that you were not going to separate.
I want to answer another question unless you answer my question. Are you concerned about 300,000 missing children in this country that were smuggled in this country?
I'm not concerned about any children who's in danger, whether he's smuggled or whether he's separated from their family. There's still 1,400 children, according to Human Rights Watch, who haven't been reunited with their parents. Was that hard for you to do? Are there any regrets?
Separating families, when a parent is arrested, a child can't go to jail with them. When I was a cop in New York, we did it. Cops do it 1,000 times a day in this country to American families.
Was that hard for you?
It's always hard. It's always emotional. It's always, it's sad. Much of law enforcement is sad. I've seen a lot of terrible things. I've been in a tractor trailer with 19 dead aliens who suffocated to death. I've talked to 9-year-old little girls who were raped multiple times by the cartels. But you all don't want to talk about that. You want to talk with the inhumane Trump administration. I'll tell you right now, the Trump administration is a hell of a lot humane than the Biden administration.
What are you most proud of so far?
We got the border. We have the most secure border in the history of this nation today, which means we're saving thousands of lives every day. People aren't drowning in the river. Child didn't die last night crossing the river. in the Biden administration for 4 years, I had to keep reading. Another child dies. Another young child raped by the cartels. Cartels throw a baby in the river so they can't get caught by Border Patrol. You're not reading any of that anymore because the cartels are on the run.